Hey everybody, Ross Givens here at the Insider Report. I want to tell you about an exciting new stock I'm seeing bought up by insiders and some of the most secretive insider buying I've ever seen, making it probably one of the most exciting buys I've seen this year. Now, it's a clinical development stage biopharmaceutical firm with several drugs in the clinical phase, as well as a phase 1 study in incomplete recovery following bone marrow transplantation and a phase 2 study in chronic graft versus host disease. They've got several things in the pipeline, any one of which the news of those, meaning a positive phase 2 drug result, drug trial result, or any new promising research could send this stock climbing very quickly. Now, let's take a quick look at the chart. As you'll notice as we scroll back here, this stock was an absolute dog for pretty much the last 7 years. I mean, once a $50 stock, grinded all the way down to about $3 a share, as you can see there on the chart. But recently, this stock has just come to life. And if I zoom in here, this is a chart of the daily action over the last, well, I guess pretty much year to date, and take a look at what happened there in April. All of a sudden, this stock came to life from around $3 to $4 a share, popped to $8, $9, $10, $13 on 40 times the average daily volume. And you're looking at small stocks, you're looking at pre-breakout companies. This is the kind of clues you want to look for. You want to look for something that's really coming alive on really heavy volume, because that shows that the big players are getting involved. That means institutional buyers are getting in, someone with deep pockets, and that's what moves stocks. It's not me and you and each of us buying 100, 500, 1,000 shares. The guys coming in buying 500,000, a million shares at a time. That's really going to move this stock, and I think we are just on the cusp of what could be an accelerated breakout to as high as $40, $50 per share for this stock. So let's dive back into things. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a live chart. Let me clean this up a little so you can see what we're talking about. So there's what I was showing you. There's the heavy volume. Notice that down there at the bottom of the chart. See, if you look at the top left here, see it says volume. It's got two numbers. One is the daily volume and one is the average volume. So we're seeing, 100,000 shares, 500,000 shares, a million. Then all of a sudden, look at this, 20 million shares in one day, 14 million shares in one day, 11 million shares in one day. That's huge institutional activity. That means that big firms, institutional buyers, hedge fund buyers are getting involved, taking large positions, and that's what begins the acceleration process of this stock. Now, we just recommended this a day ago to all Insider Report members. It had a little spike we got it around 9.5. It spiked up to $12, but as you notice, it's pulled right back to our buy zone, right there to about $9.40, hovering right above our the 50-day moving average. So I think you've got right here at support a great entry price. So let me tell you a little bit more about what's going on with this. Now, it caught my attention, obviously, because of the insider buy. We've seen a big cluster buy from one insider. That's this 10% owner right here has been buying for the last 3 weeks in large chunks, 5 million, 1.6 million, 500,000, 1.1 million. Big buys coming in. And like I said in the beginning of this video, this is some of the most secretive insider buying I've ever seen, because this is coming through a limited partnership by an Israeli citizen. Now, I've dug into all the SEC filings and taken a look to try to get a deeper dive into who this insider is and what they're doing. And what I've come up with is this limited liability corporation was essentially formed just to take a position in this stock. Now, the thing didn't even exist until about April. The first filing came April the 3rd. That's pretty much the formation papers I found, and it revealed that this insider had a position of just about 1.1 million shares of the stock, or 6.1% of the company. And the next filing came when they had acquired 10.1% of this company. So quietly buying up a large interest in this small biotech firm. Now, once you own more than 10% of a publicly traded company, that's when you become, by SEC standards, an insider. So from that point, since you have access to inside information, you got the ability to put members on the board, that's when you begin the requirement of filing Form 4s as an insider, disclosing those trades within 48 hours anytime you buy. So after they did that, they began filing these Form 4s, and that's the ones I just showed you. Since they acquired 10%, then their buys began showing up, and that's these ones here in June of 700,000 shares, 200,000 shares, buying in these very large positions. Now, the last buys we saw was this cluster buy back here in April. If we look back at the chart, it's April the 8th. You see those dates right there? When we had several directors, the CEO, chairman of the board, all buying into the stock. Take a look. Let me show you April 8th on this chart. I'll zoom in right there. This candle right here, right before the thing began to push higher. So this is clearly a company where insiders are not only exploiting their information, but doing so at critical times before the stock pushes higher. So I actually need to update that image I just showed you, there was another insider purchase that took place yesterday. So he's still actively buying up this stock. Now, as you notice, we put a volume profile on this. We'll notice the stock has been very much an accumulation phase. So if you look over here on the right side, see that big bell shape over here on the right? That shows kind of an acceptance area. And what you see in stocks generally is they go from an accumulation phase to an acceleration, I mean, they push higher, and then distribution where people end up taking profits. And right now we're clearly in a big accumulation stage, meaning these large investors, these institutional side, market moving investors are building up their position. They're buying the stock as quietly as possible before kind of releasing that energy and letting that stock push higher. Now, when it comes to the company itself, one thing you always want to look at when investing, especially in small, medium-sized companies, is the total insider ownership. I'm not talking about recent trades, but how much of the company is owned by insiders. So if the people that work there don't own much of the stock, that's not an extremely good show of faith. However, take a look at the numbers for this company. Look at the 64.8% right here in the bottom left. Insiders own 65% of this company. That is a huge show of faith. It's a very, very good sign for investors for two reasons. One, they're putting their own money where their mouth is. They clearly believe that this stock is going to go places. And second, their interests are aligned with ours, right? When the CEO and the CFO and the board members all own millions of dollars worth of the stock, they're focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's getting that stock price higher. That's taking actions. They're going to create value for shareholders and send that price up because they make money when we make money. That's exactly what we want, those aligned interests. And that's what we've got going on right now. So, we got heavy insider buying by a very secretive insider coming out of Israel. We've got a large chunk of this stock owned by the people on the inside. We're in a clear accumulation phase, and we're getting just huge surges of volume. If we zoom out on this chart, let me go to like a weekly so you can see what I'm talking about better. Look at the volume across the bottom side of this chart. Can you see that down there in the bottom right? In the entire history of this company, all the way back to 2004, we've never seen anywhere near the volume that has taken place over the last several months. This is a really exciting time. So it's right when you want to get into a stock, right before when the big moves start happening. And again, if you think you've missed the move, hey, we're up from $4 to $9, not even close. This was very recently a $45, $50 stock. It easily go back there. So getting in $9, $10, I think there's a really good possibility we'd see this become a $20, $30, $40, $50 stock. So the risk-reward ratio is clearly in line. I've also recommended a call option along with this trade. The price of that option right now is $1.35, meaning it's $135 per call option. This is a trade anybody can take. And again, if you're not familiar with calls, they're very simply just a leveraged way to buy the trade. So instead of investing $9.40 per share, like you do with the stock, with the option, you're essentially investing $1.35 per share. So it's a very limited risk position. What you put is the most you can lose, but your upside is infinite. So that $1.35 option, if this becomes a $30 or $40 stock, that $1.30 option is now worth $30 or $40 going forward. So you're talking about 10, 20 times your money if you get a large move in the coming month. Now, if you want to learn more about this trade, including the ticker symbol, all the research behind it, which insiders are buying, in addition, my entire methodology for following insiders, so how to find this information, which trades are the most significant, which ones you need to ignore, which is probably the most crucial part. People out there following sites like Insider Monkey and stuff like that, which just dump insider trading information, and they're not realizing that's not really an insider trade. It's just a guy cashing out his options. Or, yeah, it's a big buy, but guess what? He buys every single month and has for the last 10 years, so not significant. So the things you really need to know to look out for, which can get a lot of people in trouble who are not extremely skilled and have a lot of experience following these insiders. But if you want to learn all that, click the link below this video. I've got an on-demand training session where I cover all of this, the entire methodology, the details on this stock, the other ones in our portfolio, including the ticker symbol, all the data behind it, everything you need to know to make informed decisions. Go ahead and click that video right now. Watch the on-demand training webinar. I promise you will never look at picking stocks the same way again.